Gets open for three. Dagger!
The kick, and here it comes. Swing and a miss! And a World Series Game 7 winning Curly W is in the books.
Washington Capitals are the 2018 Stanley Cup champions. You like that? You like that? I like that.
You gotta like that, right?
My approval ratings keep going up.
Sorry to keep you waiting. Complicated business.
Welcome in. This is Defeating the Curse DTC, available on all social media platforms. The podcast is available anywhere you listen to podcasts. Two-man show for right now. We'll see if we can get a third man in here to run a three-man weave. We'll see. Stevie was traveling. Stevie was in Atlanta. Stevie was at the game on Sunday. We may have to punt until we get his reaction FP next week, potentially, but we'll see. LP might make a sighting. We got John who wants to chime in as well. He's been watching this team a little bit, maybe more nuanced on the defensive side. I'd love to get his input. Former linebacker himself, so that would be it'll be interesting. We'll see where we end up here. But to start the show, FP, the Commanders improved to 3-3. It was maybe the saddest I've felt after a win in a while. Like Thursday, the previous Thursday was one of the lowest I have felt after a loss. That was the Bears debacle. But Sunday, I got to be honest, I didn't feel great coming out of that. I mean, I definitely will take the win, and I enjoy not losing and not having my day ruined. But let's be fair here. The Falcons beat the Falcons. The time management. I mean, it's the stuff that we would have said about the Commanders, or we have said about the Commanders and about this coaching staff before. It just played out kind of in our favor this time around, right? I mean, it's almost comical to watch the breakdown, the quarterback play, the overly animated sideline antics of Arthur Smith with the Top Gun stash and all. But I don't know. Like I didn't feel great coming out of that, right? I mean, in on any given Sunday, if you tell me, Sam Howell's going to toss 3 interceptions and no picks, I'm going to say, give me that, and we're probably going to win. But it didn't look great, right? 150 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's one of the weirdest stat lines you will see. But across the entire NFL, maybe we can talk about this later on, there wasn't any quarterbacks that like really just went super berserk, with the exception of, maybe Tua and a few others. It was a very pedestrian week in the NFL. Very like, hum. Half the league is basically the same, either 3-3, 3-2, 2-3. Everyone's kind of clustered in that same, basically 500 range. It's a very, I don't remember seeing the NFL with this much parity in years past. Maybe it's something new. I don't know. But I mean, what was your impression following that game? A win is a win, and you take it.
Yeah,
yes, but
I mean, a win is a win. The defense was still terrible, right? The Falcons had like 450 yards of offense.
Desmond Ridder had 400.
It was insane how much. It was Desmond Ridder's mistakes that caused us to win, not anything else, right? Yeah, we sort of bottled up Bijan Robinson. We went to like that heavy 5-man D-line front, and we had our nose tackle in, and everything was going great. But overall, that defense and props to the guys that finally got interceptions, and that it happened without Emmanuel Forbes being in. But that defense still has a long way to go. The offense, I thought, looked decent. I thought Bieniemy called some interesting plays. B-Rob had that one monster run for his touchdown. It wasn't the Logan Thomas show. Terry got a little involved.
Well, Terry was involved early on, right? And then they faded away from it. It's like, I appreciate the early game script was positive, right? Spread the ball around, right? Jahan never got into the flow of the game at all.
He had one missed.
Yeah, I mean that is like I don't want to. I don't believe he's a bust. I think he's still that guy, and I still think he can be. I believe he is still a contributing member of this offense, but they need to find some place for him as well. I appreciate that Curtis Samuel looks like the guy that they wanted from Carolina a couple years back, and he's doing things that he had done in the in past years as well, or at least with his previous team. So there are definitely some bright spots on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, I mean, the Falcons, we were expecting them to come in with a a run heavy script, right? They're going to run Algier. They're going to run Bijan Robinson. They're going to just, maybe even get Cordell Patterson back in the mix there, behind the quarterback and just run. They didn't do that. And I found that actually to be very odd. I feel like that's maybe put that in the Arthur Smith, add it to the list of maybe coaching blunders or mistakes. That's what they should have done coming into this, right? I know the team gives up a lot of big plays down the field, but they can wear down that front four as other teams have. And it was, they played actually a pretty balanced.
I really like when we bring Ridgeway in as our nose tackle, and it makes it very hard for running backs to find their lanes, because as much as I love knocking on Chase Young, and LP hates how much I knock on Chase Young, those four guys plus Ridgeway, they do well at stopping the run. Really, if you think about it, all the games that probably the last 3 seasons, we are really good at keeping the above average to elite running backs locked down, right? That's not necessarily where we get burned. It's the mobile quarterbacks, it's all that stuff, but the running backs are never really the issue. So if you want to come at this defense and be like, we're going to ram it down their throat, it doesn't happen, right? Those guys have that part locked down. And it was nice to see. And I like that we had kind of a different formation. And it pains me to say it, but Jamin and Cody had decent games. I think, according to Pro Football Focus, Cody had a great game, but it's still painful to look at. And he's not going to be like.
They had 2 tight ends score touchdowns, so
right. He's not going.
How good was it?
He's not Greenlaw on the Niners, but
LP's a big by the numbers guy, and the hurries and the whatever. I don't know how the box score or the Pro Football Focus tracks something like Jamin Davis lining up basically in a quarterback. He was covering Bijan straight up as a receiver.
Right.
That is not how you draw it up defensively. That's how it ended up, and they lucked into it. We'll bring in LP is here. Let's bring him in from the green room and just kind of talk to him here, because he watches the same games we do. He tends to be a lot more positive than I think you and I don't know how positive you can be. You beat a team you're supposed to beat, but in reality, the whole league is basically clustered around that same 500-ish mark. And the teams they beat the Broncos, who are arguably the worst team in the league. They beat the Falcons, who basically are, let's face it, they're the Commanders just in a different division. I don't know, LP, how positive are you feeling after this win? Because they didn't look great. Sam Howell, okay, but Desmond Ridder looked. He still had 300 plus passing yards. Can't be super happy about that. And personally, I'm upset that Forbes didn't even see the field. I think that's a shock to anybody's system. You go from starting for weeks to pulled to not even play it down. I don't like that either. We can attack. We'll save it for the attack Jack Del Rio segment here in a few minutes. But I didn't like that either.
You want to be positive on this team. There's really nothing to give you, right? We beat the Cardinals, the worst team in the league.
From you, okay.
We beat the Broncos, the second worst team in the league, and we beat the Falcons. Arthur Smith is the worst NFL head coach to ever exist.
Mustache, though.
He is ancient. He's got to be from the 1900s.
He's not older than Ron.
It doesn't matter.
It was surprising that they only managed 26 rushing attempts. I expected him to run the ball 50 times. I just did. If you told me coming in that they were going to have Desmond Ridder throw the ball 47 times, I would have taken the under on that every single time. I don't know why he threw the ball so many times.
Because he's not a good coach. That game plan was crap. Any decent coach would have came and beat Washington. Now you want to be positive. Ron's been here for 5 years, 3-3. His best start after 6 games. 3-3 is his best start after 6 games. This is typical Ron. Start out slow, be horrible.
Not slow. This is a bad start.
Come in the middle of the season run.
To be what, top 10, top 5? I believe their blended average right now is 28th. That's not
the question to ask is all those other slow starts, right? 3-3 is the best start Ron has ever had after 6 games, but all those other slow starts, were we more competitive? Were we getting blown out the way we got blown out by the
no.
Bears?
We almost lost to the Bears last year.
Yeah, but
We got
it was
lucky.
like 12-9. It wasn't. They didn't drop 40
You
on
almost beat
us.
the
No.
Giants last year. The no call. Like, I mean,
No, but look at the early season last year. I think the Lions blew us out.
yeah, that ended.
Week 1, the Jacksonville. It was an air game
That
for
was a
Wentz.
win. Yeah.
Yeah, but either way, I mean, this is prototypical Ron. Start out slow, come in the middle of the season, go on a little bit of run, end the season around 500. I mean, we are geared
Yeah.
up for a replay of every year that's ever happened.
I mean, if you just look at the box score, right? I mean, I think it tells a different story to the game, right? The Falcons had 25 first downs to the Commanders 13. They only converted 2 of 10 third downs. That's like hot trash. Like you can't win games like that. They really should have lost this game. The Falcons weren't much better, 5 of 15. Then you look
I mean,
at fourth down. I mean,
Commanders were inept in the second half.
Yeah,
They didn't move the
offense
ball.
didn't do anything.
they ran a total of 50 plays in the whole game. Like that's
Yeah.
I don't know what you're
You have
expecting.
a point there when you said Forbes not playing a single snap. Like you literally went from covering the best corners, the best receivers in the league to not playing at all. I mean,
Well, and I mean,
like,
arguably the best.
let the guy learn at least a little bit. How about put him on
Yeah.
wide
but
receiver 3?
if his
Like, why is he on
learning,
1?
Right.
Put him on
Is
wide
Drake
receiver 3.
London all of a sudden AJ Brown? Like, did I miss something here? Is he that much?
He would
I
have
mean,
gotten burned by Drake London, but same as Danny Johnson. It's not like
yeah.
I mean,
Danny literally. I mean, I don't know.
Danny
but-
was Danny was
literally
in
the point is,
position. Quan
you
was
don't
in
put
position.
Forbes on your best receiver. Like put him on the third best receiver. Juice on your first best receiver. Fuller on your slot guy.
He was drafted in the first round. Of course,
I understand that, but
start
he
him with the
struggled,
high
so
expectation.
Yeah, but I don't think you can go from. I mean, even like have him play in some sets. Like you can't have 0 snaps. I mean that.
I agree. You
You
can't have
just
0,
killed the
but
confidence of a young man, right?
Yes.
And what's going to happen next time he gets on the field? He's going to be worried that he's going to get benched.
No. See,
He's going to try to make a pick.
You guys are going to
And-
make me defend Ron, and I hate defending Ron. I
Yeah,
want
do
him
it.
to go away. I hate Ron Rivera, but the one thing Ron Rivera is good at is having that locker room, leadership of men, talking to the guys, letting them know.
He
like,
didn't
hey,
talk to them all of half. At all of halftime, he didn't talk to them.
I don't know if I'm hanging my hat
he's
on.
not a talker.
We're not talking
He's
about.
only a talker when they
We're
win.
not talking about in
No.
game. We're
When
not
the
talking
cameras
about
are
in
rolling,
game.
he's a
No.
talker.
Shut up. We're
No.
talking about in Ashburn.
Okay,
He's talking to those guys.
Maybe.
He's telling Emmanuel, look,
I think the other
gonna
guys
have
on
your
that team
reset,
are
you're
going to
gonna
step
come
up.
in.
I think the Jonathan Allens and even like Chase Young's. Like I think the rest of the defensive leaders will get into Forbes' face and make sure he stays encouraged because they understand like he has to play, like he has to be better for them to be better, right? You can't just have like it all has to work together. This is the part that's really frustrating about the team, right? Like you can't expect the front 4 or 5 or whatever, however many people your JDR decides to rush. You can't expect them to get home if the secondary is leaky. You just can't, and not consistently anyway, right? So they know that they have to hype him up a little bit. Before we pivot off of this, though, I just want to throw something else out there. Howell is on track now to be sacked a historic number of times. As I alluded to, right? They only
roughly
ran
a million.
They only ran 50 total plays as an offense. He was sacked 5 times. 10% of their sets, 10% of their offensive plays resulted in sacks. That is atrocious. Like, I mean, I don't even know how to.
It's not all on the line. It's on him too.
A lot of it's on Howell.
A lot of it is. I mean, frankly, he needs more than 3 rushing yards as well, right? Like he's shown that he can move. I don't know if he's hesitant. I don't know if he doesn't want to be labeled that kind of quarterback. I don't know, but he's shown that he can step up and get yards with his feet. I think he needs to do that more frequently.
Yeah, but it's not only the sacks. Look at his body of work. He is hit a lot of times as well. So sacked 5 times. He's probably hit 10 times.
Yeah, I mean,
he's getting
and the line was extra leaky, obviously, with Leno, Leno being out. Yeah,
I mean, the line actually, Cornelius Lucas played fantastic.
He was graded as a perfect start by a PFF.
He gave up almost nothing. No hurries.
I mean, we have a controversy here. Like they're going to bench.
No, we're saying if only one of them knew how to go to right tackle.
I mean, listen, I still get upset looking at the graphic of what Ron inherited and what we have now.
Yeah,
right. Like I would kill to have Brandon Sheriff back. right?
Morgan Moses, I'd kill to have him.
Yeah. I mean, it's
The guy that we
it's-
hated for so
Ty
long.
Inseki,
Right?
Trent Williams, all of them. I would take all
Ty
of
and
them.
Sek. Yeah. I mean, I pulled this up. I'm just going to read this off, right? Sam Howell right now, currently more completions than Tua and Jared Goff, right? He's at 145. That's like, this is all out of context, but just think about this for a second. He's got more passing yards than Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrow, right? He's at around 1,500. Got more passing TDs than Hurts and Stafford. He's got 9. Better passing rating right now than Purdy, right, at 90.1. That's shocking too. That's crazy, actually. And he's doing it with being the most sacked player. Like, yeah, he's a 5th-round pick. Yeah, he's still rough. But like these are encouraging things, right? I don't know why I don't feel better about them, right? I'm just gonna be honest. Like, I don't feel good. I'm on pins and needles watching him kind of pretend to roam the pocket. Like, and he's got this weird knack where like he eludes the initial rush, and then it's like he forgets that there's people still coming after him. I don't know. Like, some of these
like a
sacks
sideline he can throw the ball away at.
Yeah, like I just don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, they got to find a way to move the pocket a little bit, and they should soundly beat the Giants. I mean,
They should have
there's no
soundly beat the Falcons, and yet we were up 24-10, and at the end of the game, we're all about to have heart attacks. The point that we also have to remember is, yeah, we can nitpick at Howell about taking the sacks and not stepping up into the pocket and not doing all the things he needs to do, but ultimately, this is his 7th game. Like, he just finished his 7th game.
You love reminding us that he's basically a rookie.
I mean, he is, right? I mean, look at Justin Herbert last night against the Cowboys. He looked terrible. He looked absolutely terrible against that defense.
It's funny,
and he's
up because
second highest paid quarterback in the league. He was making a lot of the same mistakes.
I don't know what to make of those two teams. I feel like the Chargers are always either 2-3 or 3-2 to start the season. I feel like they're always coming from, like, they're always playing from, kind of like they're a team that always starts slow as well. Like, they are.
I would honestly, I would call them Commanders West. Shaky coaching,
tough,
talented
division.
roster, studs on your defense, but yet somehow they can't. They lose the games that they shouldn't, and they win the games that they shouldn't. It makes no sense.
Yeah, I mean, and they looked at times. They look like they can beat. I mean, they can beat anyone,
right?
But more often than not, they lose to anyone. Like, there's no game going in. I know we're in this survivor pool thing, right? I would never feel comfortable taking the Chargers. There's
not against anyone.
I'm more comfortable taking the Commanders against the Giants in a division. And I that's like, we have this conversation every week, right? I don't take divisional teams in in these survivor pools because the teams just know each other too well.
Right.
I would prefer Commanders over Giants, which I don't feel great about anyway. And even if DJ plays, I would still take them over Chargers versus anybody because they just can't seem to. I don't know, like, they just can't seem to put it all together. FP, and it's a team that I want to cheer for. They got some cool uniforms. They've got a quarterback that you can cheer for. Like, they just.
Yeah, no home team advantage because they're in a very transient city. It's very similar to us.
Yeah,
but the point is, if you compare, it sounds crazy, but if you look at how Howell has played the first 6 games, and you look at how somebody like Herbert or even Burrow or or Lawrence or any of those guys, I mean, it kind of goes to the stat you're saying. Like, the numbers are there for Howell.
Yeah,
but this is his 7th game, which is,
I mean, but
it's nice to hang your hat that you have the QB riddle solved.
Yes.
You just have to get everything else worked out. Now, mind you, it's still the new offense with Bieniemy. It's still the coaching handicap of Ron Rivera. It's still having real running backs. I love B-Rob, Gibby. He scored on Sunday, great, but you don't have a real run. You don't have a Pollard. You don't have an Austin Eckler. You don't have Travis Etienne. You don't have.
But I also wouldn't spend a draft pick to address it either, right?
100%.
I would spend all 5 picks I have in the early rounds this upcoming, this draft.
O-line.
All of them O-line, right?
100%.
Your D-line is all locked up, right? You're going to have to deal with Sweat this offseason. I think it's this offseason, right? You maybe you lose Chase. I think you'll be okay without him.
You could probably tag Chase and
you could, right? It depends. Like, if he continues to play the way he is playing, I think you would have to tag him. Like he would be too good to just let walk out.
Yeah, he's not playing terribly. He's getting his
He's not a
hurries.
Crosby. He's not a Watt.
Right.
He's flashed at times.
He's getting there.
He looked winded at times. I'll be honest. On Sunday, he almost reminds me of Kerrigan in the latter years, where like when you bring him in, you're gonna I want to play him when I know I'm gonna get 100% of him, and I want to spell him as much as necessary so that the defense isn't at a disadvantage facing whatever offense we're playing against. Right.
Well, now that F.A. Obata is back and Casey Tuhill clearly is better than.
Should I clear the stage here? Are you going to go on your Tuhill? Are you going to tell us
Casey Tuhill looked fantastic.
The level of lusting from you over Tuhill on Sunday was it was intense.
I mean, same amount of hurries as Chase, yet he can shed blockers, close the distance, make sacks.
I didn't know he
tackles
had that
for
speed,
loss.
man. I got to be honest.
Yeah,
watching him forever. I didn't know he had that speed.
He's got a little Max Crosby in him, apparently. I'm just going to relate a white guy to a white guy, but it's kind of there.
I don't know if I'll take it that far.
Hey,
Crosby was doing all kinds of stuff on
Sunday. But if I'm not mistaken, wasn't Max Crosby was like a 5th-round pick. He wasn't this highly lauded,
yes,
seeked after edge. So
seeked after or sought after? Just or
I don't know. Sought after?
I don't know.
Seeked out?
Ask ChatGPT to fix your. I don't know. But listen, he was impressive. Yeah. My concerns are Emmanuel Forbes. I'm really interested to see, like, given that the Giants don't really have. I mean, Slayton maybe is their best receiver, or that other guy. I'm blanking on his name. But like, if it's Daniel Jones, I guess regardless of who the quarterback is, I expect to see Emmanuel Forbes on the field.
I mean, I actually hope it's Daniel Jones. I think Taylor.
Yeah, I think Tyrod,
because both of them are annoyingly mobile, and Daniel Jones always beats us. But
Daniel Jones is like next level aggravation. Like he's like his Madden rating goes up, 0.5 or 5 every time he faces us. So
it's insane.
Yeah, I would prefer them not at full strength. I mean, I think Darren Waller wasn't supposed to play on Sunday night, and he played an okay game, I guess, down the stretch.
Right.
But he's not the guy that I was expecting him to be when they signed him this offseason. So he's not that scary. He's basically Logan. I mean,
but when you play the Commander's defense, your tight ends
they're leaky,
right?
Yeah, they're leaky. I mean, like I said,
Jonnu Smith had his first TD of the season against the Commanders.
Right? I think it's his first one too. So like their 2 touchdowns were tight ends, specifically targeting the linebackers. So like this is going to be an area that they're going to have to help. I think they got positive contributions from Danny, from some of the other guys that basically were just called in and called up in that secondary. It'll be interesting to see like what kind of package they can put together to give a little bit more support, right? I mean, it just seems like that secondary is still a little bit leaky. But the Giants don't have anyone of Drake London's caliber or AJ Brown's caliber or DJ Moore's caliber, right? Like they don't have that.
In theory, it should work out in our favor because their weapon is Saquon, who's banged up. And if we go similar to what we did against the Falcons, right, a 5 D-line front, throw in Anderson. I mean,
I'm with you. I think the script looks positive right now. I think for the Commanders, I haven't looked at the line. I think the early line was Giants +2. Which, whatever. It's basically a toss-up. So we'll see how that shifts this week. But I want to talk low 5 and top 5 here if you got a second. And then we'll there's a couple of other topics I know we want to hit on, including the return of Ovechkin to the ice. I know you weren't thrilled, but they did pick up a win. So we should talk about it. They're 1-1 to start the season. But let me give you my low 5 here. And this isn't an order now. Now I think we're 6 weeks in. We've got a good body of work here. This is my low 5 in order. The Panthers are the worst team in the league. I think they gambled and lost on the quarterback. I don't care how many touchdowns he throws to Adam Thielen when the Dolphins aren't paying attention. He just doesn't look right, and I don't see how he can improve. Tua, you could argue, was on the same path when he first came into the league. Bryce Young just seems too small. That team has got holes everywhere. Ironically, Ron picked it apart when he came here to DC and apparently took the little talent they had and brought it with him. So, and they basically set up the Bears, who are also in my bottom 5. Their Bears are angling for 2 of the top 5 picks right now, and we'll see how quickly they can rebuild. So Panthers for me, bottom. Patriots, shockingly, next worst, and this is almost a toss-up. It's crazy that Belichick is going to go out like this on the bottom. I don't think, for all the goodwill Belichick has built up with Bob Kraft and their relationship, I don't think he can let this play out for another, maybe to the end of the season, but I don't think he can run. It's been, 5 years since Tom retired or left initially. The Patriots have basically amounted to nothing. They are, they went from elite franchise to, they're all just Jags. There's no recognizable names on either side of the ball that you would hang your hat on and say, this is a stud we're building around. The team's going nowhere. Maybe Belichick's tired. Maybe he's lost his touch. Or maybe, frankly, some of the narrative is true. Like, he needs some of these studs to coach up, but they look bad on defense. They look absolutely atrocious and lifeless on offense. So Patriots for me, Panthers, Patriots, bottom 2. Broncos and Giants, I wrestled with this one. I'm going to put the Broncos lower because they have more talent and they're basically, they're the same record with more talent. Russell Wilson.
Sean Payton is about to blow that team up.
He also talked a lot of trash and then got lit up, and they seem to play that team looks 2 different ways every week. They look different in the first half than they do in the second half, and that narrative is played out now consistently over 6 weeks. I don't know where they go either, to be very honest. Judy doesn't look like the number 1 guy that they drafted. Cortland Sutton can still get it done, but he can't be your number 1. They've got some talent there. McLaughlin, I think one of the rookie running back, he looks interesting, right? He's got the speed at first. Mims looks okay, but they gave up a ton for Russell Wilson. They still got another year on that terrible contract. For me, they're the 3rd worst team. The Giants right behind them. The Giants, lots of expectations coming into the season. They're a mess.
Team, yeah.
I know they're a division rival. I enjoy watching Daboll coach. He's got the passion that I wish Ron had at times, but he's also constantly throwing his players under the bus. The slapping of the helmet, the berating of Tyrod as they're walking at the half because he completely mismanaged the clock, the slamming of the tablet. Some of that's also for show. Maybe it's a little bit too much, but they're not very good. The Bears, they looked great against the Commanders. They looked great the week before, as a primer, but the record, you are what your record says you are, right? They're just not that good. They also lost Justin Fields. Their backup, he looked bad to start. He kind of settled in a little bit, but they don't have a ton of talent there either. And obviously they traded Claypool. I don't think saw the field for the Dolphins. But anyway, that's my worst 5 teams in the league. Panthers, Patriots, Broncos, Giants, Bears. I was going to throw Arizona in there, but frankly, they may be the best 1-5 team I've ever seen.
Yeah,
they
100%.
They play hard. They have talent. The quarterback, you could argue that if Dobbs was there for all of camp, they probably win a couple more of these games and they're not sitting at 1-5, but anyway, they're on the outside looking in. So Panthers, Patriots, Broncos, Giants, Bears. That's my bad.
I'm essentially aligned with you, except I'm dropping the Patriots to last.
Okay.
And we need to find the episode number because I'm pretty sure I'm on record saying Bill Belichick is a fraud coach.
Really?
And he needed Tom Brady. And I settled that debate years ago. I'm gonna find that episode.
Okay.
I'm on record saying
they're gonna listen to.
I'm telling you, Bill Belichick needed Tom Brady. It has been proven time and time again.
You need GPT
and this is the year.
Archive all the episodes, the
we
talk
do.
chats,
Oh,
and then
that
just
would be great.
search for hot takes.
That would be great. But it's crazy. But if you relate Bill Belichick to Ron Rivera, there is a lot of similarities there. And that's not a good thing for Belichick. It's not a good thing for Ron either, right? Like a defensive-minded coach.
There's also a lot of Super Bowl rings on one side of that.
Well, yeah, but think about it. A defensive-minded coach who is praised for his coaching, MVP, coach of the year, whatever. Yeah. It's on the back of a quarterback that took the league by storm. One just had a longer career than the other. But if you think terrible at drafting, terrible sideline presence.
Oh, Belichick was terrible at drafting.
Terrible at drafting. Who did they have?
He had guys like
Gronk. Okay.
And Aaron, and he drafted like OJ Mayo. He drafted.
But
Will Ford, like he's drafted some guys.
I think
Some.
all those. I
He
think
also
all of
traded.
those players.
He also excelled at times, right? As a he traded for Randy, traded for
Yeah, I mean, he has a longer record, but if you think about like the last 5 years, right? The non Tom Brady years, you give away Gilmore, you give away some big players. You have a great team, you make it worse. You're not using your draft picks well.
Sure.
It's just there's so obviously Belichick is better than Rivera, but there's a lot of similarities there.
I'm glad you said it because I don't know where you were headed with it, but
I'm just saying the Patriots.
They're not.
If we didn't have Howell, and if we didn't have the studs that Rivera inherited in Terry and Allen and Payne and all those guys, we would be the 33rd ranked team in the NFL. Like it's.
I mean, we as constructed, even without Howell, they still have more talent. The Patriots, like legitimately, can you name one defensive player on the Patriots?
No. Judon, he's hurt.
You could probably name a couple offensive players, Mac Jones, Zeke, Ramondre, but like, can you name their second wide receiver, their starting tight end, anyone on their line? Like, just not it's not a well constructed team. But yeah, I mean, so any other changes on your end? Any teams that you have on the outside looking in? I mean, I think these are the 5 worst teams that you
for sure. The 5 worst. Yeah, I don't think I would change any other order except dropping the Patriots down. I mean, it is a league where a lot of the teams this year seem to be more jumbled up in the bottom half than the top half. I think the top teams definitely are pulling away.
Yes,
in
the
a
5 and
strong
1s.
way.
Yeah, I mean, and my top 5, 49ers stay on top. It was ugly. That was a tough loss. I don't know if Shanahan cares that he was going back to a place he coached. I don't know if he processes things like that, but they didn't look. I mean, it just looks like they saw Browns on the schedule and then kind of punted, mentally
Right.
anyway. I still have them at number 1. I've got the Dolphins moving up to 2. The Dolphins can score so easily from anywhere at any time. It'll be interesting to see how they do as the weather gets colder if they have to travel north. But I mean, I don't even. They're so fast and so loaded on offense that I don't think it'll matter. And frankly, they've got like 4 running backs that can all run the ball. So if it comes to like a grinded out game, I think they can do it. I really like how they're constructed, and if they're playing with a lead, I like their defense, not just in fantasy, like in real life too. Eagles, complete stinker. In my opinion, Hurts looked very pedestrian. 3 picks.
Eagles are your number 3.
Eagles are my number 3. I was wrestling with the Lions, moving the Lions up to 3. I like the Lions more than the Bills and the Chiefs. I think they're more balanced. The Bills obviously can score a zillion points, but they also at times look super flat. Allen is erratic with his quarterback play from time to time. Diggs gets into his emotions and starts.
I mean, they also just have the injury bug.
They have the injury bug. They've got that. Yeah, there's a mental hurdle there that they have to. I feel like every game or every couple of games or once a season, it seems like they have to like mentally, just get past something very serious happening on the field.
They would be the Chargers of the North, but finding ways to win.
Yeah, and they consistently do that as well. So like they still belong in the conversation. They can beat anyone, but they also come out flat and they play from behind quite a bit. It was a weird game. Chiefs for me are just on the outside looking in. They're so Kelsey dependent on offense. Like without him, I know your guy Rice is starting to peak a little bit here, and he's starting to kind of catch Mahomes' eye more frequently. They're okay running the ball with pitching. Like they've got some pieces defensively. They're kind of leaky as well. Like they need to have a lead for that defense to kind of play up to where they should be, maybe in my opinion. But to me, they're not better than the Bills. They're certainly not better than the Lions. I think the Lions can win. Goff deserves a ton of credit for what he's done over the first 6 weeks. The Eagles, they can run the ball. They can throw the ball. They can excel defensively as well. That's why they belong there. And then Dolphins, 49ers. So that's kind of, them on maybe team 6, 7, 8, Ravens. Ravens are pretty balanced.
If they don't beat themselves, they're okay.
Yes. But I think the 49ers, Dolphins, Eagles, Lions, Bills in some order for the last 3. That's the top 5 in my opinion.
I think I'm going Dolphins number 1 because they're just they're a well-coached team, weapons across the board. If Tua can stay healthy, I don't think anybody takes out that
Okay.
team. I mean, they are I think they're on pace to be the best scoring offense of all time or the most yards offense of all time, something crazy like that. But Dolphins for sure number 1 because even if they have a star player go down, they're stacked, right?
Yeah.
So I'll take that. I'll go Niners 2, and that's only because as we saw against the Browns, they're such a physical team that it's hard to get through an entire season that way. So if CMC goes down, if Debo stays hurt, if anything happens, suddenly Brock Purdy looks very pedestrian when his all pros are no longer surrounding him. So they're a stacked team. They're fantastic defense, very well coached. But I think right now, if a freak injury hits, Miami survives more than the Niners. From there, I think I'm going Lions number 3. I think top to bottom, offense, defense, special teams, coaching,
So good. They're so
they're
good.
he just built that team correctly, and Goff is doing more than game managing. He's not
Yes.
insane numbers, but more
Yes.
than game managing, and that's all you need from him. And it's honestly good for the Lions fans, good for that franchise. They deserve to kind of be
Yeah, and
getting the recognition now. I mean,
and they were trading when they traded for Goff, it was more of a salary dump for Stafford than it was we want
right.
Goff, but he's playing like an elite quarterback.
Yeah,
Elite
I mean
right now.
he's earning his chops for sure.
Yes.
And then for me, the toss up is Eagles and Chiefs. I think it's insane, but
super low. Wow.
yeah, I mean, looking at where they were Super Bowl year and looking to now, both teams they've lost a lot of pieces. It's just they are not the exact same team as we saw in the Super Bowl. I think the Eagles might have the advantage just because they have more weapons on offense that are a little bit scary, right? Swift is still good. AJ Brown, Devonta, Dallas,
A lot of pieces.
all of those pieces. If Jalen Hurts and kind of Sirianni can kind of figure out how to iron out that game plan, I think they'll trend upwards. The Chiefs, like you said, Kelsey dependent. Mahomes is still great. Andy Reid is still great, but they're not as scary as they once
If
were.
Rice steps up and becomes that like 6, 7, 8 target per game receiver, and he can consistently catch 6 of them, 5 of them, 7 of them, then I think they'll be okay. I think they'll be okay. But
I just can never understand why they would let somebody like Tyreek go. I'll never understand it.
Well, and they failed. They tried and failed last year with bringing in Juju and all these other random pieces.
Kadarius Toney this year.
It's not working, right? It's not working. The guy they drafted is Rice. I'm blanking on his first name. I keep on calling him Sidney Rice. It's not Sidney Rice, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll see how they play out. I mean, they're still elite. Right?
Rashi Rice.
Yeah, thank you. Where do you got the Commanders before we pivot off this one? I got them at 17. I think they're. It's going to be hard to get much higher than like 15, 14, just because the whole league is basically clustered around the same. They have maybe more talent. They're underperforming, however. So I got them somewhere in the 17, 18 range.
If the defense can shore things up, if they can start getting through games where they're giving up under 300 yards of offense,
under 30 points, sure.
Under 300 and under 30 points is all we're looking for here. Okay. I would give them. Right now, I think I would agree 15 to 17. I think they're closer to that 12 and 15 if they're firing on all cylinders. I don't think
the Giants, a win over the Giants shouldn't move them up too much unless we get some upsets.
If it's a dominant win, if we do to the Giants what the Bears did to us, great.
I'll take that bet. That's not I'll take that bet. But looking ahead for them though, they should beat the Giants. They'll likely lose to the Eagles, right? So we're back to basically 4-4. They should absolutely beat the Patriots 5-4. They'll hang with the Seahawks. I think they can beat the Seahawks, maybe 6-4 or back to 500. Then the Giants again, +1, maybe +2. Then the Cowboys, probably a loss, so -1 or back to 500. Then the Dolphins, -1. Then the Rams, toss up, could be -2, could be 500. The Jets, the way the Jets are playing, we'll come back to them in a second. That could be -3, -2, -1. 49ers makes it -4, -3, -2, and then the Cowboys to finish. Like they're trending towards a losing record right now. Like that's the realist. That's my very realist view. They have some winnable games here, but there's only 3 or 4 of them right now. It's the Giants twice, the Patriots, toss up with the Rams, toss up with the Jets. The others are going to be competitive or losses.
I am actually terrified of the Patriots, and I think
That's their get right game.
I think Belichick. No, I just think the genius that is Bill Belichick will call the perfect game to destroy us on both sides of the ball.
Well,
and it's going to come down to being outcoached at that point.
If they come down to basically a 500 record, I think close to 500 could potentially get you into the playoffs, especially with some of these tiebreakers. That loss against the Bears is going to be so brutal, right? It's an NFC team. It's just that one's going to hurt. It's going to haunt them. And it's potentially the difference between a winning record and a losing one. So and the Jets, I just want to talk about the Jets here for a second, because Aaron Rodgers is either an alien or he didn't actually pop his Achilles. And I depending on my mood, I could vehemently argue either of those positions. I don't know how somebody who popped his Achilles and had surgery under 40 days ago is standing without a boot, walking around without crutches, tossing a football as if nothing happened.
Yeah, like pivoting everything.
And not as somebody, and Stevie and I, as we've documented here, we've suffered this injury. I didn't see my foot for 3 months after surgery. This guy is doing 5 hours of rehab a day. He's upright. He legitimately looks like he's on track to return. And I can't believe I'm saying this. The Jets might still be in a competitive position. And if they are, they're still primed to make a late run and win the whole thing. They are so impressive defensively.
Yeah.
If they can just figure out a couple of things on offense, which Aaron would fix, man, they're gonna be good.
I mean, the whole NFL scripted thing is real. You and I were talking about it. Aaron goes down.
Good conspiracy theory.
Aaron goes down. The NFL says
Tay shows up.
Tay, come take some heat off of us. We need some entertainment. Tay and Kelsey do their thing. All the pictures that you see, those people don't like each other, don't want to touch each other. It's hilarious to look at. But Aaron Rodgers, truly, if he does come back, you have to think it wasn't like, I don't know if it was a real injury. He just said
first player ever to return from an Achilles tear in the same season. It's never like this. It's Kobe Bryant, Kevin Durant. I'm not comparing myself to other athletes. Okay, I'm comparing athletes to athletes. Those guys were younger when it happened to them than Aaron Rodgers is, and they took full 7, 8, 9 months to recover. This guy is walking around 30 days later.
Did he truly find the one surgeon with the one technique that completely advanced this injury? And now moving forward,
he was a candidate for something called the bridge technique. If you have a strong stomach, right? If you're of a strong constitution, Google it and watch the repair. It's very different than your traditional Achilles repair, where they stitch the tendon together. Then you have to, over time, you have to let it fuse together, and then you have to re-stretch it so that it works properly. And then you rehab your calf ultimately to gain full mobility back and can resume your life. Because they did this bridge thing, his calf muscle it's not going to atrophy. He's not going to lose a ton of calf muscle from not using it for 2 or 3 weeks. You lose a ton of calf muscle when you don't use it for 2 or 3 months, right? So it's possible. I'm not going to name drop here, but I had a friend who has a friend who works with a lot of NFL players out in LA, who does PT. Like his job is PT. He does PT for the stars, PT for all the athletes, everything else. The message I asked my friend to send to that person was, is Rodgers an alien? Is this a conspiracy? Like, is there some big conspiracy happening here? Or is it actually possible to be up, moving around under 40 days post-op? The response back was, it's possible. Keep in mind, I've worked with Aaron. He's super lazy. So if that doesn't tell you everything you need to know about athletes and how they're just different, there you go. Apparently it's not that insane.
Is he super lazy? Is he just
Apparently,
Doesn't want to get up from the couch and do
super lazy.
shrooms.
But I mean, this person worked with him when he was doing his like Con Air phase out in California with the wife beater and the the long hair and the darkness retreat. And he made some house calls. He I don't know if it's good. It's
fantastic
got
movie,
sure. But anyway, so according to a professional, it's possible, right? The risk of re-rupture is very high, but they don't need him to run. They need him to stand and deliver spirals, basically, different, like pepper that offense with passing. So would you do it in the snow? I mean, I don't know. But
the thing is, the Jets being 3-3, that was almost best case scenario if Aaron didn't go down, just based off their schedule.
Yes.
If I mean, they just have to.
They're in a great spot.
Yeah, right? It's just insane,
and,
right?
And for all the people that are like, "Oh, he's out there because he's pushing his own brand," I don't buy that for a second. I think he's actually trying to encourage the team because this is his legacy too.
Yeah,
like he's the guy that switched teams. He's the guy that who talked all the big stuff. He's the guy on McAfee every week. Like he more than any other quarterback in recent memory is he's like Cam Newton level obsessed with himself.
Could you imagine wild card weekend? The Jets just sneak in, and Rodgers is ready to go. Just the world explodes as far as sports media.
If you can coach Zach Wilson to just not be terrible, which he's shown flashes where he can be not terrible. I mean, yeah, I can envision a system because they're well coached and disciplined where rotate them through. I know it's crazy to say because it's not something you see, but why can't you play both? Why can't you have Aaron go in there to start the game, see how he feels, and have Zach, spell him go series for series. All you need is a lead, and then let the defense do what it does, right? So I think all options are on the table.
Breece Hall is fantastic, right? You just need to get to those cold months, go run heavy. It's not unheard of that Aaron can't come in and they remain run heavy. And
prior to Jonathan Taylor signing, I mean, he was linked to the Jets, loosely linked to the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
But one guy they definitely don't need, I think, is Kirk. I don't think they need to make that move. I think we were big on that before. But FP, there's a couple more things I wanted to talk about. Bryce Harper yesterday. I don't know how closely you're watching the MLB playoffs. I've been into it. I gotta admit, it's yesterday was like Monday night was split screen NFL baseball, and I found myself doing what I did the week before. I wanted to listen to the baseball audio. It's a better product to me right now. I don't know why it's so appealing to me, but it just is like
playoff baseball for sure.
Yes, and watching Bryce homer on his birthday. Like I'm tired of like the Philly #1 shtick that he's doing, and I love Philly and blah blah blah. Put that aside for a second. I'm torn about how I feel about Bryce.
I want him to get the ring.
I don't know if I can get myself there, right? I know Stevie can't get there. It's hard. It's hard.
But it's his time.
Trey was traded away. Like Trey, the team said go to the Dodgers.
Right.
Him and Max. Bryce picked the Phillies.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know how I'm supposed to process that. It's hard to see him on the screen and take my eyes off. Like he is a star through and through. Obviously, if he was still with the Nationals, we would be cheering for him 100%, right? The last real memory of him as a National was winning the Derby in 2018, which was here in Nats Park. And then obviously the following season we got the World Series, right? He left and then the World Series thing happened, right? So you could, if he stays with the Nats, this team probably wins one more, right? Unless you, for some reason, think he's the reason they wouldn't have won it, which I wouldn't buy into. I think a lineup with him and Trey and Soto, it would have just been wild to see that team stick together. That being said, I don't want to do a revisionist history thing. I'm just curious. When you see him, can you cheer for him? Do you cheer for him when you see him? Are you pulling for the Phillies right now?
It's harder for me to pull for a Philadelphia team than it is to pull for Bryce. I think he did a lot for this team when he came in and when we got him, and he still means a lot to the DC area, right? And he helped more, I would say more than Zimmerman, more than Max. I think he helped put the Nationals
Yeah, he made baseball a thing.
a staple here, right? And I appreciate him for that. And it's kind of like seeing, if you saw Kirk win a ring, you wouldn't be upset. You'd be like, you earned it. Like, I wish you were still here. Good job. Like, you're not going to get upset at seeing him do that. And I mean, Bryce was just everything. He was exactly what you needed him to be, and he was gone too soon. But it's his time. I mean, he's playing lights out. It's his time. He deserves it. I just wish it wasn't on a Philadelphia team. I wish he was getting his ring anywhere else.
I mean, he had, if I'm not mistaken, he had a 4-year offer from the Dodgers. He had an offer from the Giants, and he picked the Phillies. And maybe he didn't want to go to California. Maybe it was a tax thing. Maybe he just liked the East Coast after moving out this way. Like I couldn't take my eyes off the TV. It was a better product, start to finish, than what was a competitive. It was a competitive Monday Night Football game. Like, it wasn't like it was a dud of a game.
Right.
It was slow scoring. It was slow moving at times, but like, I didn't want to listen to the audio. I barely wanted to watch it. I was all in on the baseball.
Troy and Buck are terrible to listen to.
It's funny. I feel like they aged like 10 years when they switched platforms. Maybe it was something about the national audience, like on a Sunday. I don't know. Like, something is just off with that broadcast.
Or they're just day drinking to get through the pre-production meetings. And
I mean, they don't like fucking SVP after the game. The Manning brothers butcher a lot of the eyeballs, right, on the simulcast. So
they're just dry, right? They're just dry. But there's no A-team commentary for the NFL anytime slot. All of them suck.
Yeah, that's you're right. That's a CBS, a Fox, a Prime, and an ESPN.
They're all terrible.
And an NFL Network, right? They're all, yeah. Last topic, and then we'll get out of here. How you feel about Ovechkin and the Capitals getting that win yesterday? How long of a season is this going to be? Like, do they have 70 points in them?
They are still old. They've gotten a little bit faster.
I feel like I'm not going to like your breakdown. Yeah.
It's too early to tell, just because of the new coaching and kind of the new pieces and a lot of similarities from last season. But Ovi's still Ovi. I think it's just, this might be the year we see him take a clip longer to really heat up. And I think this might be the season we see the slowdown, which pains me to say. I like that Kuzi's still here. I like that we're healthier. I like that Oshie and Wilson
healthy. I think that's important too. I like Coach Carbs too. He's got a cool nickname. He's got a nice attitude about him. I listened to him on local radio here a couple weeks in a row now. He seems like he's got just a different philosophy, right? The team tends to move a little bit smoother. Maybe the line shift. Yeah. I think in years past it was attack. He's got more of a, if it's not there, maybe slow down just a bit, switch the lines, like more of like a ticky-tacky in soccer, right? Just kind of hold the puck, see what you can develop, as opposed to just go, or the straight out like defensive model. So we'll see. I hope that they find a groove. I hope they can make it an interesting season, because much like Belichick, I don't want the end of Ovechkin's career to be like, I don't want it to go off, right? Like that just, I think it hurts. It hurts the fans. It hurts him. And it's.
I mean, it comes down to the same thing it always comes down to for the Caps, and it's really weak goaltending is essentially the problem, and that's been the problem since the Cup run with Holtby. Like, it's you had your draft picks, you had your free agents, they all just kind of make do, but none of them are really exactly what you need for this team right now. And maybe it could be addressed. I still trust in Brian McClellan and just him being a great GM and addressing the needs. Yeah, I think it'll be fine. I think it's
season's 2 games old. So
it'll be a slow start, I think, but hopefully you get into at least the second round of playoffs, which we haven't done in a while. It actually broke our home sellout streak because it's been a while. I think Monday was the first game we haven't sold out in like 598 games. It's some kind of crazy record, but
I mean that's not good.
I mean, Caps games are so fun, regardless of what's on the ice. Just seeing Ovi and those guys in the warm-ups, Cap games are phenomenal.
I mean, listen, I think the Caps are going to be an interesting. They can be competitive. I don't think anyone legitimately thinks they're going to challenge for the cup. I think it's more of how close can Ovi get to the record? How soon? How does the team look? I think fans of the team want to see improvement over last year. It's a new coach.
I mean,
it's a new system. Like these things matter.
You can almost relate it to the conversation we were having about baseball. Is regular season record means squat. Just get healthy and find a way into the playoffs.
Get or stay healthy, and then you just get yourself into. Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. The Wizards, I don't think will be. I'm curious to see what the Wizards look like when they actually get on the court, because like on paper they should not be like a 20-win team, but every model, every talking head has them literally at like 25 or less wins. That's really, really bad. I can't imagine they're going to be that bad.
I can.
I hope not. Because then it's really all for nothing.
But who carries that team into the?
Poole can play, and he's coming from a team with a winning pedigree. I think some of that hopefully comes with him. Kuzma can still play. I mean, he can play, and Koulibaly has looked interesting, borderline promising in the preseason. So we'll see.
I mean,
we'll see. We're entering the best season here. The back half of October into November.
All the sports are on.
Yes. FP, thanks for making time. We went a little bit long, but I appreciate you hanging out. LP, thank you for making time as well. The show is called Defeating the Curse, available on all social media platforms. Anywhere you get your podcast, just type in DTC or Defeating the Curse. The show will pop up. Like, share, subscribe. Send us your comments if you'd like as well. We're trying to stay consistent with weekly. We may get 1 or 2 pop-ups this week. I know Stevie wants to share his game day experience from Atlanta. We want to get John in here also to talk a little bit more, do a deeper dive into the Commanders. So thank you for hanging out with me and FP. We appreciate it. Until next week, we are out.